Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Adventure Paradox podcast. We have Simone Knego with us here today. I will give a formal introduction in just a moment. But first of all, Simone, how are you and where in the world are you zooming in from today?
So I'm having a really great day, honestly, and I am zooming in from Sarasota, Florida.
Ooh, warm and sunny over there?
Warm and sunny. It was cold this morning, like Florida cold, like 50 something degrees, but I got to wear like a nice warm outfit, so I'm excited.
I love it. I love it. Yes, and like cue the Floridian TikTok, so Florida cold. Okay, yeah. I'm
Yes.
in Idaho.
A little
It's a
different.
different season. Okay. So you are an international speaker, award-winning author, and empowerment coach who helps women overcome self-doubt and lead with purpose. You are also a best-selling author, podcast co-host with your daughter, I understand, and creator of the Real Method, which is trademarked. You share practical tools and powerful stories that build lasting confidence from the inside out. You've been featured on ABC, NBC, CBS, Entrepreneur, and Yahoo News. You also bring this kitchen table leadership philosophy to audiences worldwide, reminding them that real leadership is modeled through everyday choices. Can we start right there? Like, can we start with the everyday choices and this idea of, I just love that kitchen table leadership. Like, where'd that come from? Can you open that up for us? Can we start right there, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So I truly believe we've been sold this very narrow view of what leadership is. It's the boardroom, it's the title, it's the corner office. But leadership, it's the everyday choices. It's the things that happen behind the scenes. It's the messy moments, right? How we respond to things. And so many of our most important decisions happen around the kitchen table, but nobody's ever called it leadership, so we don't see it that way. But
Mhm.
nobody needs to call it leadership. We have to know within ourselves that the choices that we make every day are leadership decisions, right? For example, we adopted our youngest three kids. Every conversation about that happened around the kitchen table. Everybody had to be on board with those decisions. Like we voted, it had to be unanimous. And guess what? That is a leadership decision. Our lives would be completely different if we didn't all vote yes. So I want to reframe the idea of what leadership is because it is the choices that we make every single day.
Wow, that's super powerful. And I want to do a deep dive into this because before we started recording, you shared with me, I think you have 5 kids.
Six kids.
I'm sorry, 6 kids. So I want to hear more about this. And I see a picture of your beautiful family in the background there. Like this story of all of you being around the kitchen table and talking about bringing in new family members. Could you just share some of, I'm guessing a lot of your wisdom, and I know you've got a book and a lot of what's probably in there you experienced, witnessed, and observed and were a part of in this conversation that you just shared with us. Could you take us into how do you do that? What's that like? What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, I think when the kids were really little, they because we adopted three different times. So when the kids were really little, they just thought, oh, it's going to be cool to have another sibling, right? But as they got older, they understood that the choices we make affect everybody in the family. It's not me raising another child, it's us raising another child. So
Mm,
they had to be all in because it is a commitment. Like our first son, he came home when he was 4 months old. Baby, that was a different situation than our next son. He came home at 4.5 years old. Like he
mm,
had already had 4 years of a life, right? And he had to leave it behind, not because he chose to do so. So understanding that there are going to be things that we go through as a family that are going to be very different from any other family. Financial decisions, right? 6 kids is much different than 3 kids. And understanding like the choices that we have to make. Now, again, they were young, so did they understand that? No. But they wouldn't trade it for the world. So when we sat down to have these conversations, I remember when we were talking about Millie. So we at this point we have 5 kids, and the decision was like, do we go back and adopt one more time?
mm,
And we talked about all the different consequences that how our life will be a little bit different. What the time that I have now is going to be even more limited. And so then we voted, and the kids would write down yes or no on a piece of paper and push it over. And Olivia, who I have the podcast with, she didn't hesitate. She instantly wrote down her answer and pushed it over. And everybody voted yes. But I asked her, I said, you didn't hesitate at all. She goes, Mom, we're talking about the life of another child. How could anyone vote no? Like,
Mm.
so those things, that's leadership, right? That's not just a decision. It's a leadership decision. And so I think we need to think about the kitchen table differently. Like it is where so many things that affect our lives, the choices happen around that table.
I feel like you need to make a movie about this, by the way. Because that was like such a scene you just took us into with your children, with the notes, like with it's a child's life, right? Like this is just the
Yeah.
reality. And
Yeah.
also as the listener and for the audience, and as I'm hearing you and witnessing this story, like I'm getting chills, but it's like for each of us, what are you going to do with this one and only precious life, as Mary Oliver would say, right?
Mhm.
I'm so moved by that. And the other thing I want to bridge to is like confidence and this idea of real confidence. And, when you shared it with me in writing, you shared real in all caps. I'm wondering if it's an acronym, the same with the real method. Like what is that about? And what is this real confidence and how it connects to this kitchen table
Mhm.
conversation?
Yeah, so it is an acronym, but I want to take a step back for a second. So, for a big part of my life, I felt like I was performing, right? I was behind a facade. I think so many of us do that, right? We try to do what we think other people expect of us instead of what we really want or what we really need. And so I started with the word real because I think it's so important that we are real, right? We are real about who we are, about what our lives are like the messy moments, the behind the scenes that can be really difficult. And so real stands for respect yourself, embrace your failures, ask yourself what you want, and live without limits. When I was younger, I thought confidence was something other people had and I just didn't. I thought, oh, they're born with it, right? And what I've realized over time is that confidence is a skill that you build from the inside out, right? It's not made for other people, it's made for you too. But it takes work like anything else, right? You don't go to the gym one time and become super buff, right? You have to work
Mhm.
at it. You don't take one Spanish lesson and become fluent. So it's interesting that when we think about something like confidence, it's either something you have or you don't. But the more you look into it, it's something that you actually build like any other skill.
I love that. I'm a huge fan of portmanteaus. If you remember what those are, it's where you combine two words.
Mhm.
And so as you were just talking about, I was thinking about like confidence and consistency and like constance or something. I don't know. But like when you really bring those together, and I'm right there with you. I used to have a radio show and I would always ask the question of what does it mean for you to be real? And I feel like our culture is hungry for authenticity because we have a lot of artificial intelligence, but we also have this performative intelligence, right? That
Mhm.
that we've like programmed. It's been programmed into us. The accolades, the corner office you were referring to, like all of those things. And I'd love to hear you unpack a little bit more, like the last one you talked about, something with limits with the L. What was it again?
Live live without limits.
Yeah. Like, can we really get into this acronym and like how you use it in your life? Because I mean,
Mhm.
there are four of them, so I see it as a frame. Like, could you give us some real world examples of each of them? Because it's so
Yeah.
juicy.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so respect yourself. I remember as a child being taught to respect my elders, to respect my peers, but never once do I remember being taught that the most important person to respect is myself.
Mm,
We talk so often about demanding respect. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to demand respect. Okay, what we need to do is go in there and demonstrate respect, right? When we respect ourselves, when we treat ourselves with kindness, when we treat ourselves the way that we would treat our best friend, that's how people are going to treat us, right?
hmm hmm
But we don't do that, right? We
mm.
talk to ourselves in such negative ways on such a regular basis. Would you ever talk to your best friend like you do yourself? No, most people would not, right? So we need to remind ourselves that we are our own best friend. We are going to be living with ourselves for the rest of our life. And that's how we need to treat ourselves. So respect is, to me, the foundation of everything we do. So setting boundaries, self-care, really thinking that we matter, right? Because we do. Instead of saying, oh, everybody else is more important than me, that is so not true. And so that self respect piece, and it follows through to our children, right? Everything
Hmm.
we do is modeling. So when they see us talk negatively to ourselves, guess what they think? Well, that's okay. Mom does it, so I can do that too, right? I don't feel good about myself, so I'm going to tell myself that I'm, not worthy. And it affects everything. It affects the people around us. So I think that the respect piece is where we need to start, and we need to think about it on a regular basis. Am I being respectful to myself? So
Mm.
many times the answer is no.
I feel like we would be remiss not to cue Aretha Franklin here a little bit. Respect.
Yes.
But I also see we both have horses in our background here, right? And I don't know what your horse experience is, but for me, the adventure and the paradox of working with a horse or something or someone literally bigger than you, not just on an energetic level, but physically so much bigger. And that a piece of the respect of this othering is also respecting yourself and that you are smaller, you know? Um, it's actually making me think about corporations as well. And, they get really, really big and then the rules change and then things change. I live in a really small town, same thing, cities, da, 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 and you get all these different rules. And I just love that reminder that when you're thinking about the respect of others and laws and rules and horses and all these different things, coming back to respecting yourself. Like perhaps you have fear, perhaps you have some reason that you're not really feeling it today. Maybe you're under the weather or whatever it is. And we forget that when we're like, you got to go for it, you know? Really love that one. Can we
Yeah.
hear the next one?
Yeah. And let me go back to the horse piece. So I rode horses for the first 40 years of my life, and then I had a knee injury, so I had to stop. But since the time I was 4 years old, my first horse was the first horse that I rode at a show was a 17-hand Appaloosa named Stumps Dandy. And yes, for sure. I mean, that was life changing. As a child, that you could get a horse to pick up their feet so you could clean their hooves, that definitely builds confidence.
Totally. Well, horse girl to horse girl. And when you want
Yeah.
to come out and do some horse retreats out in Jackson Hole here with us, let me know. Come on out.
Thank you so
Did you
much.
did you say your horse's name was Stump Standy?
Stumps Dandy. That was the first horse, Stumps Dandy. I have no idea where he got that name, but his name was
Such
Stumps
a
Dandy.
great name.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm
yeah,
dying. Okay.
yeah.
17
Okay.
hand leopard Appaloosa.
Oh
Like, I
yeah,
just want to make sure we all really heard that because that is amazing. It looks like a
yeah,
Dalmatian, except that it's, bigger than a truck. I love it.
yes, yeah. He was like the sweetest, sweetest guy. Anyways, okay.
Mm.
I digress. So, second part, embrace your failures. Society has taught us that if we fail, we're a failure. And it is so not true, right? Failure is part of success. I mean, think about a baby. Think about a toddler. When they first start walking, they fall down a million times and they keep on getting back up. And we encourage them, right? We don't say, oh my gosh, you failed. Oh my gosh, you fell down. No, we're like, oh, you can do it. You can do it. But as we get older, we don't do that to ourselves anymore. We say, oh, you failed. You're a failure. Don't try that again. That's too scary. But we need to be failing because if we're not failing, we're not growing. If we're
Mm.
not, I mean, it means that we're not trying, we're not doing. And
Mm.
so we need to remind ourselves on a regular basis that it's okay to fail. And the same thing with our kids, right? I mean, if they're putting their hardest work into something and they still don't do well at it, like that's okay. Like they worked really hard. But we can't just constantly criticize and say, I can't believe you did that. And what we do it ourselves, I can't believe you did that. Don't try that again. No, keep trying things until you find what really fits.
I
Changing
love
your
that.
mind is okay. I'm a big believer in changing your mind. I changed my mind many times in my life. I started off, well, first of all, I was going to go into medicine. Both my parents are physicians. I failed organic chemistry. Then I took it
Mm.
a second time and got a D. That was the end of that. So I went into accounting because, as my dad said, I was good at math, right? I have a bachelor's and master's in accounting. I was a CPA and I didn't love it. So
Mm.
I actually taught writing lessons for a while, started a summer camp. I went back to school to be a teacher. I worked in medical sales. I flipped houses until I found what I was passionate about, which is writing and storytelling and speaking on stages. And, so we say that, oh, by 18, you have to know what you want for the rest of your life. No, you don't. Go fail a bit. Go fail. Go out and fail a bit and then figure out what you're really passionate about.
I love that. And I also love like that idea that fail is a four-letter word. Like people
Mm.
don't want to talk about it, they don't want to have it happen, they all these things. And if you're not failing, to your point, you're not getting out there. Like you gotta get out there. I heard a speaker at an event back in November say something like, it's not win or lose for me, it's win or learn.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I think it's like such a pivot to recognize that, you know, we got to embrace it because it is just part of life. You're not meant to go out and win every time. Like, we're
No,
meant
I
to
mean,
go out
how
and
boring would
fail.
that be? Like, you don't get better, like, if you don't have bumps in the road.
Yeah.
But we have this idea that if we fail at something, we shouldn't try it again. And it's completely the opposite. What did you learn from it? Now move forward and set
Yes.
a date. This is the other thing. So my daughter who I have the podcast with, again, so she was diagnosed with Crohn's at 16 years old. And she, at first, obviously it's devastating news. And she's the girl who wanted to eat her way around the world. She's still doing that. Like she's taken it in stride. But I said to her, and I think this applies to any kind of failure. Obviously, her health issue isn't a failure, but we've kind of moved this forward into any time we're struggling with something, is that whenever something goes wrong, give yourself time to feel all the feels. Be angry, be sad, cry it out, scream it out, whatever you need to do. And then pick a day and say, on that day, I'm moving forward. I'm not going to focus on this anymore. Because otherwise, you're going to be stuck there forever. And that's exactly what she did with her diagnosis. And that's exactly now when, she's in law school. If something goes wrong, she's like, oh my God, I'm so angry. I said, okay, when are you moving forward? She's like, give me till tomorrow. And I think that's so important that we remind ourselves of that because we have to move forward. You don't want to be stuck. Do you wake up every morning and say, I want to be stuck in this really crappy place? No, you don't. Like, we
Mm,
want to be happy. We want to be fulfilled. And we have that choice. It's a choice we make every morning when we wake up. What do we want? Right?
love it. Love it. Yeah, it's making me think like embrace your failures, embrace your pivot, set that date to like, okay, and now
Yeah,
next. Okay. What's
exactly.
the third one?
Okay, which flows into ask yourself what you want. I think this is probably the hardest thing for women to do because we have done everything for everybody else for so long, whether you're a mom or not, right? We are caregivers, we are caretakers, whatever you're the way you look at yourself. And so often we go from point A to point B without thinking about what do we really want.
Mm,
Uh, when I've asked women this question, they're like, I have no idea. Nobody's asked me that before. Okay, we need to start asking ourselves that more often. So the way I say to start is look back to when you were a child, right? That child in you still exists. Did you want to be an astronaut? Did you want to be a rock star? What did you want back then?
mm.
Because again, that child still exists. And you can do things in your life right now that kind of satisfy that. I'm not saying you're going to go be an astronaut tomorrow, but like there's things that you can do even when you're not working, whatever it is. I'm not, and I also don't quit your job tomorrow. That's not what I'm saying. But, find something that really fills your cup. So it could be volunteer work. It could be some kind of art that you haven't picked up since you were in high school, right? It's all still there for you to decide and keep trying until you find something that really makes you happy.
I love that. Oh, and you're so right. It can be the hardest thing for people to really get still and hear themselves and be
Mhm.
honest about what it is because it might not be the thing that they're doing at that time.
Right. Yeah.
Gosh.
And the thing I love to say is that even if you are like unhappy in the job that you're doing, right, you can make a career out of anything these days. I mean, if you would have told me 10 plus years ago that an influencer on TikTok is going to make millions of dollars, right? I'd be like, what does that even mean? But you can do so many different things. I mean, like with Etsy, like you can do, your art and sell it. Like there's so many great opportunities out there, but you have to allow yourself to try these different things.
Yeah. Oh, so true. Which probably brings us to the fourth one.
Yeah, live without limits. So we limit ourselves from the minute the minute we wake up until the second we go to bed, right? I mean, we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, we're not worthy, whatever it is. We have a voice inside our head, right? I call my voice the what if whisperer.
Mm.
And I've named her Sally Fine, which stands for freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. And the reason I've done that, of course, my kids are like, seriously, mom, but it allows me to separate the voice from reality because we
Mm.
all have that voice that comes in and says, you shouldn't be here, or you're not ready for this. I mean, you're not ready is a big one, right? Oh, don't try that. You're going to fail at that. And so I created a little mindset hack called Control Alt Delete. Very creative, I know. So back in the day, that's how we would reset a frozen computer. Now it brings up Task Manager. I don't know what Task Manager does, but that's what Control Alt Delete does now. But sometimes our minds freeze too, right? We get stuck in the comparison game. We spiral in self doubt. And control is about awareness. You're not going to control the thoughts that are coming into your head, but as soon as you become aware of them, you can figure out what to do with them, right? Are they
Mm.
real? Are they helpful? Like what's running your day? Alt is about alternative. Tell yourself a better story. Instead of what if I fail? How about when I succeed? Instead of I can't, how about yes, I can? Watch me. And finally, delete. Delete the habits and beliefs that don't serve you. Delete the comparison game. Delete the belief that you're not enough. Delete the apology. I mean, how many times do we apologize for things that don't need an apology, right? Let's stand up in our power for exactly who we are. So that's my little Control Alt Delete. And I want to add one last thing in my breath for when I talk about limiting ourselves. When I was younger and I was a stay-at-home mom, I would the way I would describe myself, I'm just a stay-at-home mom. I'm just Rob's wife. I'm just a volunteer, justifying my existence. Like, why do we do that? The more you listen to women, the more you will hear them say, just. You're not just
Mm.
anything. You're not
Mm.
just anyone. You matter exactly how you are, who you are, for who you are.
Oh, so good, Simone. I can't even handle it. Oh my God. Yeah, mic drop after mic drop right here. Like justifying existence. I'm just it's kind of reminding me of the I should.
Mm-hmm.
I'm shooting all over your shoulders, right?
Right.
Um super, super powerful. And I'm blown away by that mindset hack. Control Alt Delete. I love that one. That was so
Thank you.
good. And the acronym, like, oh my gosh, so much incredible wisdom. I know you're a best-selling author. I know you have a book out. I know you have another book coming, I believe February 17th. I'd love to hear about the book you already have out first. What's that book about? What was your experience of writing the book, publishing the book? I always say also having a best-selling book out there is like it's like birthing a baby. There's an
Mm.
experience of I'm going to write this book. The book's going to happen. Oh my God, I am writing the book. The book is written. Oh, wait, now I gotta actually publish the book. Now the book is out there. I have birthed the book. The book is out and it has this life of its own now. It's a book baby. What is your experience of your first best-selling book been like? Tell us about the book. I think you might have it behind you. I want to hear all about it.
Yeah, so the first book is called The Extraordinary Unordinary You and Follow Your Own Path, Discover Your Own Journey. All about realizing what you're capable of and recognizing that the little things you do every day matter, right? I mean, we give people credit for, oh, that person, the big philanthropist, like the celebrity, like, oh, they're the ones changing the world. And I don't believe that at all. I mean, they are in their own way, right? But just as much as we are, right? So it's the little things you do every day, the way you talk to your neighbor, right? The customer service is not customer service. It is a human, right? Remind yourself that when you make a phone call and you get angry at somebody, they're a human and they're trying to help. And guess what? They're going to help even more if you're willing to, be kind. So
Mm.
I was with and this is just a tangent for a second. So, it was my daughter's birthday this past weekend, and so she's 23, but she wanted to go to Universal Studios with her best friend from college. So we went to Universal Studios. They have a new ride at Epic Universe for Harry Potter. We waited, they said 90 minutes. We waited 90 minutes, and then still it was another 90 minutes. And the guy said, oh, go in the single person line. So we went over there. It did not move. It was just a bad experience. And I said to the guys, we're gonna let's not, do you guys really need to wait? Like, we've wasted enough time. And so I went out and I said, I asked the guy outside, I said, is there customer service nearby? And he said, yeah, it's, you just go out there, but how can I help you? And I said it very nicely. I said, we waited for 90 minutes here. Like I went through the whole thing and he said, well, would you guys still like to ride the ride? And I said, guys, you want to ride the ride? And they're like, yeah. And they literally took us up the elevator and put us right on the ride. So again, be kind to people because, you know, people are trying to help, but if you scream at them, it does not work. Anyway, so back to the book. So that is a big theme in the book and how you treat people, how you treat yourself, and really understanding what you're capable of. So we talked about our youngest three, their adoption stories. I climbed Kilimanjaro in 2015, so that was part of the book as well. And there's so many stories with lessons of helping the reader understand what the possibilities are for them.
Oh my gosh, so good. Ah! Also, I have questions about climbing Kili because
Mm,
I've been talking to a lot of different folks about this. A lot of people have been coming into my field doing some pretty serious mountain climbing and adventures as of late, but what you just shared really awakened in me just that simplicity of one meeting at a time, one moment at a time. And something I teach about a lot is 100 years ago, we didn't get anywhere without being connected to an animal.
mm,
And if you start screaming, because you're a horse person and acting like this, your horse is going to spook. They're going to take off. Only a very, very cold-blooded, chill horse is going to stand for that kind of activity, right? And I think we humans don't recognize, because we're so far from that, most of us, how our part plays into how we are received in communication. Like, what are you bringing? I remember Oprah saying, you are responsible for the energy you bring into the room, right?
hmm
And we hear that and we say that. And yet, in that moment of, I've been waiting in line for 3 hours, it's forgotten, right?
Yep.
And suddenly you're in that space of like, wow, and doing all of that. I would love to hear you touch on if you have had a moment, maybe a weak moment, where you realized, oh, I was not my best self
Oh
there, or
my
I was not so
gosh.
kind. I mean, have you ever strayed? Have you ever had a
Oh my
moment?
gosh. I mean, I
Let's
am
hear.
human, right? And I think that that's an important piece to remember and to make sure our kids understand too, if we're talking about kids, that we're human, right? We mess things up and we like that is how life works. And being able to acknowledge that you messed it up. And I like to teach my kids, this is a what not to do moment. So go ahead and follow that too. What not to do. I was It was in 2020 during the COVID shutdown, which it wasn't so shut down in Florida, but you still couldn't go inside places for a bit. And so my daughter really wanted a Starbucks so you could go through the drive-through. And it was packed. And so we're waiting kind of outside the line. And, I put the car in such a position that if people needed to back out of anywhere, they could get out. Well, out
Mm.
of nowhere, this red SUV jumps right in front of us into the line, like cuts me off. And I lost it. Like I lost it in the Starbucks drive-through. Like whatever came out of my mouth, she was this was my youngest daughter and she was 13 at the time. And she looked over at me and she's like, are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm not okay. Like, I cannot believe this just happened. And I was like going on and on. And she said, Mom, I think you might need to reread your own book. I think you've forgotten a few things about kindness and compassion and empathy. You always say you don't know what anybody else is going through. You can never walk in their shoes. She's like, I think you might need to practice what you preach. And I was like, okay, there we go. Right there we go. And of course, like then I started laughing and was like, oh my gosh, you're so right. Like, thank you for calling me out on this because it is ridiculous. Like, why was I losing it? And again, external pressures, like so much buildup of everything that was happening in the world. And I just lost it over the red SUV. And of course, we get up to the window to pay, and the car in front of us had paid for our drinks. And right. And so then my daughter said, can we pay for the car behind us? And then we had a whole conversation on how long we thought that would last for. I was like, well, until someone has like a $20 charge and then it's not going to last anymore. But yeah, it was
Mm.
like, it was such a good learning moment for me and a human moment. Like we are human, right? We have things that we go through and it's being able to take a step back and say, okay, that was ridiculous. Sorry about that.
I love that story. Again, when is your film coming out is what I want
Yeah.
to know next, because that's another movie scene. So, so good. Mom, I think you might need to reread your own book. Like, that's like a
Yeah.
total
That one,
mic
that was
drop.
like dagger. I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. You're
Oh
right.
my gosh, so good. Okay, and before we talk about your upcoming book, because I
Yeah.
know you have another one coming, let's hear about your podcast and your podcast host, which I know is one of your daughters. I feel like podcasting is similar to birthing a book baby. A big difference, and a little bit more similar to having kids, is that then it keeps going. It's not like you had it and now it sits on the shelf and maybe you'll republish it one day or write a new whatever. It's like every week, every month, whatever your podcast is like, you have new interviews, new information, living, thriving each year, each month is different. I would love to hear about your podcast and your co-host. Tell me all about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So the podcast is called Her Unshakable Confidence, and I co-host it with my 23-year-old daughter. And it really started like about helping her build confidence quicker than I did, right? Helping her get there quicker. And obviously helping the listeners too, and helping my other kids too. So all part of that. But, this was after her Crohn's diagnosis, and, she went off to college, and then we were like, okay, we always have these really interesting conversations of kind of building her up, whatever she needed. And I said, what would you think if we started doing some Instagram lives? And she's like, yeah, sure. And then after doing that for a bit, she was like, we talked about what if we made it into a real podcast. And so that's what we did. And we drop episodes every Tuesday.
Hmm.
And every other week it's just the two of us. And then the next week it's with a guest. And really helping women build confidence, understanding their value, like really stepping into exactly where they need to be for them. And so it's been a really fun thing and way different than writing a book, right? I think with both of them, I had the idea if you build it, they will come. No, they won't. You have to tell people about it. You have to invite
Mm-mm.
them into the tent. And so that's been a big learning lesson for me. And again, people want to help, people want to come listen, but if they don't know it's there, they can't do anything about it. So tell all your friends. I mean, that's the thing I keep saying to Olivia and to myself, like remind people. And so it's been going really well, and it is just so much fun.
I love it. I'm really big on podcasting and helping people start podcasts, keep them going, growing them, all the things. And it's like a living, thriving book because it's not just a launch and then it's out there. It keeps going and the conversation keeps going and new guests and new conversations and new audience members.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating. Okay, whole side tangent we could go off on there. But you have another book and we need to hear about it. Let's hear about this new
Yeah.
book.
So this is my new book, Real Confidence, a simple guide to go from unsure to unshakable. It comes out February 17th, and just super excited about this book. So it's all using my real method. There's exercises and frameworks to really and it's specifically written for women to help you understand what you're capable of. It's a very vulnerable book. I talk about, a lot of things that have happened in my life that kind of brought me down that path of self-doubt,
Mm.
and, what really helped me move forward. Kilimanjaro was a big piece of me moving forward, and because that was a moment where I really understood what I was capable of. I didn't have to worry about what anybody else was thinking, right? It was the belief in myself. Yes, I had to put in the work. That's true of everything we do. But the mindset piece was so important as well, right? So often we talk about set the goal, set the goal. It's put in the work, it's taking the action. And so for me, that was a life changing experience.
Are you going to do it again?
Well, I'm probably not doing Kilimanjaro again. I might do something else. I just had shoulder surgery a few months ago,
Mm.
so I'm recovering from that. But yeah, we'll see what's next. I get asked that question a lot. And I'm like, okay, the book launch is the focus right now. And
Yeah.
then from there, we'll see. I mean, there's so many cool things that can be done out there, right? And just to see the world differently. I was thinking about travel recently and really thinking about how many places in the United States that I haven't seen yet, right? And I really want to make sure that I get to all the places on my list. And some places I don't even know. Like, should they be
Yeah.
on my list or not? Because I don't know enough about them.
So good. Podcasting also a great way to travel places and meet people and decide where you want to go.
Yeah, it is so true. I've met some of the most amazing people on podcasts, and hearing their stories, it just opens up the world in a different light.
So good. I cannot wait to see what you do next in 2026, which is the year of the horse, by the way. People are going to want to find you. They're going to want to follow you. We will put all of this in the show notes, but can you give us a website and maybe whatever your social handles are where you like to hang out, email, all the things? Again, we'll have it in the show notes, but in case somebody is out hiking Kilimanjaro listening to this
Ah,
podcast,
there we
how
go.
do they find you?
Yeah. So best way is my website, which is SimoneKnego.com, SimoneKnego. And social is basically Simone Knego. I think Facebook, I'm like speaker Simone Knego because I have a personal page too. And the podcast, Her Unshakable Confidence. Honestly, if you search me, you will find me because as of now, I am still the only Simone Knego in the world. So even if you spell it wrong, I think you'll find me. I haven't like gone on there to try it, but I think so. I think so.
I love it. No doppelganger yet, although AI is probably tracking this. So
I
I
know. I
think
know.
there could be another soon.
Yeah.
I feel like we covered so much ground. I feel like we could keep talking for days. I want to keep hanging out with you. You're amazing. Did we miss anything that you want to make sure our audience hears from you or knows about today?
I think the only thing I want to add, because I think this was such a mindset shift for me, is that I was always looking for the next change I had to make, right? The bigger car, the bigger bank account, more hours spent at the job, whatever it was. And what I realized is that we don't need to change who we are. We need to change the way we see ourselves. And it's that comfort from within of understanding our value and really sitting in that really helps us move forward in whatever you want to do. So you don't need to change who you are. You need to change the way you see yourself.
I'm writing that one down because it's so good. You don't need to change who you are. You need to change the way you see yourself.
Yep.
So good. And one of our favorite conversations here at the Adventure Paradox is this idea of the better paradox, where it's like, I could be a little better, I could be a little, I could be a little skinnier, I could be a little smarter, I could be a
Mm,
little, a little more money, a little bigger car, blah, 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 blah. And when we really just let that go and recognize the adventures right here, right now, with who you're
mm,
with, right here, right now, and what you're doing, and that you're creating that, right? Like creating that's super powerful. So new pair of glasses is what I hear with that. And I love that so
yes.
much. Thank you so much, Simone. You have been awesome. Listeners, if you loved this, share it with a friend, subscribe, follow along. It makes a difference. And hats off to you, girl, with all the work you're doing. I can't wait to see what's next. I can't wait to check out your show. You're amazing. And thank you so much for the gifts you're bringing to this world. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me here today.
Awesome. Take care. We will see you on a horse, I hope.
Yes. One
Okay.
day.
One day. Or maybe driving a pony cart if your
Oh,
knees
there
aren't
we
up for
go.
riding.
Oh,
Let's do
that's a
that.
good idea.
All right. Till then.